Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, the Python Gurukul. Today we'll be talking about one of the very important topic, continuous integration, and we will see how to use the tags and implement the CI in few steps. We will cover all about the continuous integration, then we will see how we will use the tags to do the same thing in the local setup where we can do the different way of running the tags. And then we will end the conversation. We'll see some example how to use the talks run with the GitHub Action, run all the different CI tests at the remote server. And before learning about the continuous integration, let's go a little bit back and what we were using before the continuous integration. So before continuous integration, all the developers team were using some version control. But with the version control, all the team members or the developers were using their own branches. And whenever they used to do the merge, the problem will start. Then it was kind of time consuming and unpredictable environment. But if we automate this process, running, like writing the code, and whenever we are trying to merge the code, trying to share the code, we will do the build, we will test, and we'll make sure that codes are working fine. If these steps are automated, we can say that yes, we have continuous integration in the place. So let's see how, while using the talks, we will be able to implement the same thing. So talks is one command line tool which help us to run the test in different environment. It is not a CI system, but it act like one. And in few steps, we'll be able to set up CI on our local, even at the server side. So let's see what all we accomplish inside it. So from starting from very basic, creating the virtual environment, installing all the required dependency, then build the app, install the app, and run all the test cases. So Talks takes care of repeating these steps for different environment, and that's where it makes our life very easy. If we have already Python installed, Talks will be not installed by standard installation. We have to install Talks by just saying pip install Talks, and then we'll have the Talks installed. Once we have the Talks installed, we can use either setup.py, pyproject.tml, or talks.ini to provide the Talks configuration. For simplification, we will be using talks.ini into the demo, and we'll see how we can use the talks and define a talks requirement. So let's try to set up some diagram in our mind about the project. So let's say we have one project, and while writing the project, we have our source code here, and in the parallel, we have the tests. So all the test cases, whatever we want to run against this application, will go to the test directory. Now we have pyproject.tml or we have talks.ini. So we can use this file to provide the talks configuration. As we said, we'll be using talks.ini. So we can take a look at one of the talks.ini, and lots of things are there, but only few things are important, like which all the environment we want to use. And we are just saying that which all Python we want to use. Do we want to isolate the bill? Yes. And then here we need the pytest, we need the faker, and then we just want to run the simple command pytest. So overall, only the main important part is the which all environment we want to use, and for the build section, what all the dependency we want to have. Once we have these things set up, by just calling the talks knows to find the ini. From the ini, it knows about the test directory. Let's think about the scenario where we want to run talks in the multiple Python with the multiple Python version. So we are just highlighting the same talks definition, but this time in the environment list, we are just listing uh, different version of the Python like 37, 38, 39, 310. And as usual, yes, we want the isolated build. Yes, if an environment is not available, we just want to ignore that. Once we have these set up, and if we are planning to run, we got to just use the configuration file. In our previous example, we just said talks and we were able to run all the test cases. But now we have to call talks and say C configuration and then provide the name of INI file. And then we'll see that it is going to run against all the environment like 37, 3.8, 3.9, 3.10, and then all the test cases. So it will repeat all the steps whatever we saw, create the environment, install all the dependency, create the package, install the package, and run the test. It will repeat the same thing for all different environment. So let's see if we have lots of different environment and this environment is not limited to Python. We can list the different operating system as well, which we will see in the later example. So we need to run these things in the parallel to reduce some time. By just saying dash p, we will be able to run all the test cases in the parallel, all the different environment in the parallel. So in this example, we are running test cases in different environment, but these are running in the parallel. So that's really cool to see. Now, the last and very important part of this discussion. So far, we have been seeing how to run all the CI process at the local system. Same thing can be done at the remote system. Whenever we are working with the team, if we are collaborating, we need to use and we can make use of GitHub Actions and use the kind of very similar file, the one we saw as the INI. But for the GitHub action, we'll be creating the YAML file. In the YAML file, we can give any name, but we have to specify on what action we want to run talks. So let's say if we are trying to push any code to the repo or we are trying to create the pull request from the repo, we want to run all the talks. So we just say that on push and pull, and then what we want to do, we want to create the build on which operating system. So we can list all the operating system we want to run our test with and then provide all the Python version. And in the steps, we can say what we want to do, name, and then the command. We are just saying that check out the code, install the dependency, and then run the talks. With that, we will be able to run all the test cases. I think we have covered all the theory part. Now it's time to change the gear and take a look at live. So to demonstrate talks, we are using the chapter 11, and in chapter 11 already we have set up all the things what we need. And for that, the interesting part was two file talks.ini, and we are just saying that from here we are starting the talks definition. An environment list, we can list all the environment of the Python environment. Yes, we want to isolate the build. And then what we want to do, we want to install the dependency and then run the pytest command. Very similarly, we have one more file. And in that file, we are just listing multiple environments. So everything remains the same. Only in the environment section, we are saying that we want to run again 37, 38, 3.9, 3.10. And here we have added escape if some interpreter is not available at the system. But while the dependency, install all the dependency and then run the pytest command. We'll go to the command line and we'll clear the screen and we will say talk. So let's say we are in the right directory. Yes, we are in the right directory. And we can see that we have talks.ini here. So if I just say, and then we are invoking all our steps. It is creating virtual environment. After the virtual environment creation, it will install all the dependency. Then it will create the build, create the package, install the package, and then start running the pytest. So already we completed for one environment, and here is the result. So I want to say that this looks really neat and clean. It says congratulations. We have completed in this millisecond, but we were able to successfully complete the run. But now we will go ahead and this time we will say talks, but we need to specify the name and we will give time. It will try to repeat the same step for different environments. So it tried for 37, that interpreter is not available on the system. It escaped, tried for 38, 38, same thing. But whenever it tried for 3.9, it is able to create the environment, create the package, install the package, and then run the test cases. And then we are repeating the same thing for 3.10 environment. We will create the environment, install all the dependency, create the package, install the package, and then run the test cases. So now we can see that we were able to run skip in 3.7, 3.8, but we were successfully able to run in 3.9 and 3.10. But we can see that it took 20 seconds for 39, 16 seconds for 3.10. How about if we can run them in the parallel? So just we have to add the switch P and then we can run the test cases, but this time we'll have less output, but we'll have all the different environment running in the parallel. So we can see that it already two were escaped, two out of I. Now it is running for 3.9, 3.10, but it is running in the parallel. That's why we don't see lots of output. And then we see that it has already completed and these runs were in the parallel. So that's really neat and clean. Now we will talk about the most important part. So now we are looking at the same books library at the GitHub page and at the GitHub repo, kind of similar setup, but one thing I want to highlight in the cards project, we will go to the GitHub workflow and this is where we have the main.yaml file. This YAML file is very interesting. So we are saying that name is CI and we want to run the talks whenever we do push to this particular repo or whenever we create the pull request. What we want to do, we want to create the build on Ubuntu latest. We can list multiple operating system here. As I said, talks is not limited to only Python. We can use the different operating system as well. And then here we are listing which all Python environment we want to run. Remember, at the local system, we were not having interpreter, so it was skipped. But we'll see what will happen at this cloud. And what we are doing in the steps, we are saying that check out the code, install, set up the Python, install all the dependency, and then do the talks installation, and then run the talks. Just creating new pool. So for that, maybe we can go to the directory and here we can add some test case. So let's say we are going to the books library, we are going to the cards project and we'll go to the source section and inside the source section, this file I have just for modification purposes. We'll just copy this line, add some file. We are just modifying this file and we will showcase that if we are modifying any of the file at this particular project, at this particular repo, if you are modifying any of the code, in this case, we were modifying cards project inside the cards project source and source, we try to modify this particular file. So we are just showcasing that if we try to modify any of the file, the talks will be triggered and talks will run all the test cases and these processes are automated. We are not playing any intervention. So it is going to create um, virtual environment, then install all the dependency, create the package, install the package, and run the test cases. So all the things are happening automatically. So we have already modified the file. Now we will take a look and see if something has changed here. So yes, as we modify.py and we will add to that git repo. So we'll say git add this particular file Now we'll commit minus a, and we will say modify file added with pass and fail scenario. So already commit to successful. I'll say git push. So as soon as we do the git push, uh, the push is going to push the code to the repo. And as soon as it see the push command, we have defined our file to run the talks either on the push or on the pull request. So let's go to the particular YAML file. And in this YAML file, we are going to the workflow, and there we see main.yaml, and we have said either push or pull, run this particular CI, run this particular talks, and then it will run 3738 So let's go to the action, and we can see that this is the comment that we gave, modify file added with pass and fail scenario, and we can see that it has started the run, and it has already ran 3.7 in the 3.7, 10, 9, and 10 environment. And we can go to one of the environment. We can see that it is setting the job, checking out the code, setting up the Python, installing all the packages, running the talks, and it will take care of creating the build, installing the package, and the running the test cases. And then it will take care of tear down. And the same thing will be repeated for all these different environments. How easily we were able to set up Python CI with the help of talks in couple of minutes. So that's really neat and clean. If you like my video, please share and subscribe. Thank you for watching.